Hi there, I am Sarah Colas. Welcome to the Dressing Up podcast, where we talk about all things bridal, dresses, and general dressing up topics. I love to encourage women to dress up while expressing their personal style with confidence on how to do so. Visit sarahcolas.com to book a bridal alterations fitting or even inquire about designing the custom couture bridal gown of your dreams. I'm so excited to talk to you about this next topic. Let's get started. All right, ladies, we have Alicia McKay here with us today. She is the co-owner and venue coordinator of the Oakley, a premier event venue in Holly, Michigan.
Yes.
So Alicia started planning weddings in 2014
Yes.
while working full-time as a graphic designer.
Yes. It was crazy. Weddings never were part of my plan. It just sort of fell into my lap. And honestly, it was after my wedding that I started really getting involved in the event industry.
Oh, really? When did you get married?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started working in events years before that for a local shop in Howell. And I just really liked the organization. I'm just type A enough to make all of that happen.
Yep.
And at my wedding, the vendor team was like, this was the most organized that we've seen a wedding like ever. You should get into the industry. And I was like, okay.
If you say so.
Sure, I'll try it. What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So I literally put it out there on social media that if anyone needs help with planning their wedding, let me know. I'd be happy to help. And I didn't really think anything was going to come of it. But the next day, my inbox was flooded with...
No way.
I was shocked because I didn't realize, and this might sound crazy, but I didn't realize that planning a wedding was difficult. I didn't realize that planning a wedding was something that people thought was challenging. It just was like so fun and easy for me.
Natural for you.
It just happened. Like, I'm like, why is this so hard?
Yeah.
So I planned 5 weddings completely free of charge, which my friends thought was absolutely insane.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was learning right along with them. So I'll always remember those couples that allowed me to walk through that process with them and let me in on such an intimate day for them just so that I could learn. So yeah, it was just crazy. So I never meant for any of this to happen. It just kind of fell into my lap and I loved it.
Something I think about when you're starting in the wedding industry and you're the type of vendor that works on the wedding day, which is most of them. Not myself usually. Unless, right. I know. Unless I'm doing the day of styling service. But most of the time I am not there. But when you're starting your business as a planner, you have to think that, okay, you're going to do this wedding for free, but this wedding isn't happening for a whole year.
Yeah.
So you can't just wait until that one's done. You probably had to get, like you said, 5 no charge ones. Right away.
Yeah.
And then after those weddings happened, you were probably just booming from there.
Pretty much. It just happened. And as it started happening more, that's at that point when my in-laws became empty nesters. And we sat on the front porch of their home. And my mother-in-law said to me, what do you think about hosting weddings here? And, they had this big, beautiful home, 40 acres of land. And there was a pole barn that was my father-in-law's horse barn. And when I say it was a horse barn, it was not attractive. It was nothing charming. There was horses, pigs, goats, chickens, hayloft storage. 30 years of just like farming equipment was, built up into this space. And I was like, man, I have a hard time seeing that happening. But we ran with it, met with an architect that following week, and we really haven't looked back ever since.
Wow. As simple as that.
Sure.
Yes, right. Let's go with that. So you're just sitting on the back porch and you're seeing this barn off in the distance. And now it's completely transformed.
Completely transformed. We really only kept, the footings and like a bit of the roof line, and everything else has been completely transformed.
Oh my goodness. And how many people does your space hold?
230 people.
Okay. Yes. Wow. Okay. That just sounds absolutely beautiful. What was the process like of building the venue up? What kind of style were you going for? Were you doing most of the design work, or were your in-laws very involved, or how did that go?
So it was definitely a group effort, but we did include a designer who's actually also family. So she came in, helped us pick out, paint swatches and light fixtures. And we knew that we wanted something really neutral so that any couple that came through with a specific look in mind, we were able to make all of that achievable. So we're in the country, like I said, we're on 40 acres. So there is a little bit more of like an estate country aspect, but I didn't want it to be a barn venue. That's
Okay.
not really what we were. It's
Yeah.
all drywalled. There's air conditioning and heat. It's a bit more of like an elevated space. So yeah, I'd say to keep things neutral and clean and crisp for couples to kind of come in and bring their own life to their venue.
Wow. Just a good blank slate.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, very nice. Tell us about the transition from being a graphic designer to wedding planning.
So I feel like I still use a lot of my graphic design skills in wedding planning. I use all of my graphic design skills for creating floor plans and blueprints for the venue, as well as all of our branding. So they're definitely still integrated between the two. And, I have a Bachelor of Arts from Michigan State. So I think just having that kind of design mind has really been helpful. So even though I don't have a degree in hospitality,
Yes.
because that's not what I meant
Yes.
to go into, it
Yes.
still has been really beneficial for me.
I think it's super beneficial for your couples too, because yeah, the hospitality part you're going to provide, it's going to happen. You're a venue owner, but to have that design eye and that artistic background to help them bring their vision to life, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What are some challenges you faced in the early stages of wedding planning and or the early stages of the venue?
Well, the construction process was certainly something to get through. We went through multiple contractors. The process wasn't quite as quickly as we expected. And, I think you've been through the construction process of building a business. You always kind of run into snags and things like that. So that was definitely a challenge. We're happy to be through that process now and on the other side. Challenges as far as a venue coordinator goes, I would say learning really strong processes and procedures and kind of setting boundaries for what we do or don't do. I think when you're first starting out in this industry, it's really easy to want to do everything for your couple.
Say yes all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to say no to certain things, but I want to make sure that I know exactly what I plan to do for couples, lay that out very clearly, and have a process and schedule for everything so that it makes it a lot more simple to kind of apply across the board so that everyone has the exact same experience.
Right.
So I think organization and processes, procedures, standardization is really important.
I think you've got it. I can already tell.
Well, you're always making changes, though. I mean, every year we're always making changes to our contract and to our processes for like month of coordination. I mean, it's always going to be developing. So,
yes. So let's talk about the Oakley coming from the McKay estate, built in 1990. All the way up till now. What is a little bit more about the history of that space?
Yeah, so my mother-in-law and father-in-law bought the property in 1990, and it was just a blank piece of property. They built the home with their own bare hands. Same thing with the
oh my goodness. Okay.
Same thing with the horse barn. They built all of that from the ground up. They raised their 4 beautiful children there, one of which who happens to be my husband. And my husband and I actually met in 6th grade.
Wow.
And we're instant best friends.
No way.
And he became my boyfriend, if you will, that year. So it was.
Oh my goodness. Girl, your story. I love it.
It's so crazy that everything worked out the way that it did. I think if you would have told me in 6th grade that I was going to marry this skinny blonde-haired boy that I met in math class, I probably would have thought you were crazy. But, we were best friends throughout high school, dated throughout that whole time. So I also grew up on the property too. So owning a business on the property that I spent so much time in growing up is really special.
Wow. I've been with my husband since we were 15.
Oh my gosh.
But that's even way crazier for you. I like to think about the fact like you met your in-laws when you were very young.
I know.
There's something so special about that.
Yeah.
You really become family so soon. And by the time you get married, it's just such a strong bond.
Yeah. I mean, they're truly it's almost sounds too formal to me to say they're my in-laws.
Yeah.
Like they're very much like
much more.
Yeah, they're much more than that. And, I used to call them Mr. and Mrs. McKay, for years. That's like what you address your boyfriends or friends' parents as. And it was really weird to get to that transition of calling them Ken and Kathy. Like that felt really weird.
I know. I still feel that with my in-laws. I'm like, I'm like stuttering saying their first names. I'm like, that's not who I was introduced to,
Right.
Well, it must be extremely helpful to be in business with them and have
Yes.
such a good relationship.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And we all have a really different set of roles within the business and strengths within the business. You know, Kathy is fantastic when it comes to the behind the scenes of running a successful business. She knows how to run the books. She knows how to do all the accounting. She knows about all that stuff and like overseeing a lot of like the management of the property and business. Well, Ken is so handy. I mean, the man's walking around with a tool belt across
He's the maintenance guy.
Yeah, there's nothing that he doesn't know how to do. He's the muscle behind everything. Great. Yeah. And they're all really involved on wedding days too. The three of us are usually almost always there for every wedding. So it takes all three of us to really make this.
You make a really good team.
We do.
Wow. That's amazing. So you mentioned 40 acres of rolling hills near Holly, Michigan. We already talked about seating capacity of up to 230 guests. You have outdoor ceremony spaces and indoor reception areas.
Yes. So we have an overlook area that has an outdoor ceremony location that overlooks rolling hills, a beautiful pond, even with a fountain. The horses kind of roam around in the background as well. Then after the ceremony is done, guests will usually migrate to our greenhouse or cocktail hour location in the courtyard. There's a bar area out there. There's restrooms. It's so picturesque. And then from there, they will then migrate again to the indoor reception area. So there's really 3 different locations there on site.
And then you have a private wedding suite.
Yes, we do. Yes, lots of natural lighting. Again, very neutral, white, a little bit of blue because that happens to be my favorite color. But you know, there's their own private restroom in there. Lots of high top seating for your getting ready suites. Lots of mirrors, floor length mirrors for the dress shots. Got everything they need.
Nice. Okay, now that you're talking about it, I'm kind of bummed my sister Angela has been getting married here. I'm like, shoot.
Vow renewal. She can always come back.
Vow renewal.
No pressure, but like, you know, baby shower.
Yeah, right? True. Oh, yeah, there we go. I like that. Okay, so let's talk about your packages.
Yes.
Speaking of showers, sounds like that might be an option.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a greenhouse courtyard area that's great for smaller occasions, smaller weddings, showers, whatever you guys might want to do out there. It's much more quaint. That one holds up to 70 people. It's a Sunday package. For a wedding, it's a little bit more of an elopement style wedding, but it's perfect for something a little bit smaller and more intimate.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Can you think of any extra special, memorable events hosted at the Oakley and what made them special?
My goodness. We primarily do weddings. We've hosted a couple things here and there outside of that. Celebration of life has actually been something that's been really interesting that we've seen a lot more of lately.
Okay.
And that's always a huge honor to be a part of something as intimate as that, even though, you know, a wedding's also very intimate, but this is a different way. You know, I think I can't really focus on one specific event, but I think like the feeling is what I focus more on. And the feeling of building that relationship with our couples. Our venue package does a full weekend rental. So by the time they leave on Sunday, they've already been with us for, you know, Friday, Saturday, and then they depart on Sunday. So, you know, that feeling after you wake up from a slumber party, maybe as a kid, and everyone's just kind of like, they're a little disheveled. You're talking about all the fun stuff that happened the night before, and everyone's really sad to leave. That's kind of how it feels like on Sundays at the Oakley. That they're kind of not wanting to quite leave yet because the second they leave the door, that means their wedding weekend's done. And everyone's reminiscing about how wonderful the night before was. And I think that's probably one of my favorite feelings is the connection that we make with our couples. And I think that's a big difference with working with a family-owned business is that we are probably a little bit more involved than some other businesses might be, but you truly become a part of the family when you get married with us.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds very special. Okay, so do you want to talk about the actual packages?
Yes. So the biggest package that we have is our venue package, and it's the most popular. It's pretty all-encompassing. It's a full weekend rental of the venue. So you'd come in on Friday to do setup and rehearsal. So any of the bugs, if you will, that could pop up on, you know, your getting ready time will all happen on Friday and not on Saturday. So the thought is the more work we can get done on Friday, the better day everyone's going to have on Saturday. So getting ready, setup, and rehearsal on Friday. Then you have access all day Saturday. And then you have until noon on Sunday to remove all of your personal belongings. So it really makes for a much more stress-free wedding weekend.
Nice and slow.
Yes. I'm sure you've been in a wedding before where they had to tear out the same night. And it's a little chaotic and crazy.
It's like, get out of there as quick as possible.
And, you know, you've had an open bar for 6 hours and people aren't, you know, on top of their game quite as much at that point in the evening. So it's nice just to be able to grab your personal belongings, head out. We'll deal with all the chaos in the morning.
Oh gosh, that's amazing. So you only do one wedding per weekend.
Correct.
I feel like that's rare in a venue that you have the whole space for the whole weekend.
I think it's rare too. And it's something that I feel really strongly about. When I was working with other couples outside of the Oakley when we were first starting out, the one day rental was something that I saw really common, and it was stressful for everyone involved. I thought the couples were in a panic. They didn't really know what their wedding was going to look like until they walked into the reception and it was already starting.
Yeah.
Or their rehearsal was days prior to their wedding and it kind of doesn't all quite line up the way that they sometimes want it to. But also on a personal level for us as a business, I also don't want to be there till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I also love to leave and like go to bed.
Let's all just go to bed and then we'll be back up in the morning.
Right. I'll be a much better person on Sunday if I can get a little bit of a Saturday night.
So true. Yeah. You just want to be done. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay. So I want to go through just some rapid fire questions with you. What is your favorite wedding theme or trend?
Ooh, okay. So I'm a big fan of the bright florals, like lots of different color. And I think it's because it's unsafe for me. Like I don't think I'd be able to pull that off. So I always think it's really cool when other people do.
Yeah.
And then as far as trends go, I feel like I'm liking the trend of no trend.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right. Just doing your own thing.
Kind of. Yeah. I feel like we're seeing that a lot more often where like trends are getting a little bit more challenged by couples now. You know, in the past, this is just kind of like what we're supposed to do and that's what you do. But I feel like couples are tweaking and making some modifications to that to make it a little bit more personalized for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What is your favorite moment of a wedding day?
That's an easy one. The moment that the couple is about to walk down the aisle. Everyone's lined up for the wedding party. The doors are open. The guests are waiting. The music's playing. And there's just kind of an excitement, maybe a little bit of like an intensity happening. And everyone's quiet. And this is what they've been waiting for. It's that moment. That's my favorite. It's like
hitting me. No, I'm like, I'm not even thinking about a particular person, but the way you're describing that. My goodness.
That's the spot.
Yeah,
and
that is.
Especially when the entire wedding party's already made it down the aisle. And it's just me and the couple, or it's just me and the bride and groom, or the parents and the couple. And you can see their breath start to change a little bit. And it's really, all the emotions are starting to build up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Wow. And then you just send them on their way.
And then I take a deep breath.
You're like, okay,
it's done. We made it.
Yeah. Have a sip of water.
Yeah.
Run to the bathroom.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. What is your preferred way to unwind after a busy event weekend?
Oh, well,
are Mondays nice and slow for you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I try and take Mondays off. It doesn't always work out that way, but yeah, Mondays are like my Sunday, really. I try not to be there as much on Sundays either. I have a great team that can help and do like the tear out on Sundays.
But it's still
but I'm still not quite
checked out.
Yeah, I'm still kind of exhausted from the night before. So there's a thing that we like to say in the industry that there's a post-wedding hangover.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking on your wedding day. Let's just put that on the table right now. But you're dehydrated, your feet are sore, you probably didn't sleep as well as you needed to. So Sundays, I'm not like quite there. So Mondays are really like the recharge, I'm back to normal kind of day. So I definitely like to just kind of lounge around the house, maybe read a book, take a really, really long shower, and just take a day to relax.
Yeah. Do you have weddings every weekend in the summer?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So you really don't get a break. Like this is every weekend.
Yes.
This is a lot.
Yeah. With the exception of holiday weekends, I try and black those out from our calendar so that me and my team can at least have like a few weekends off throughout the summer. But yeah, for the most part, we're back to back nonstop.
In the wedding industry, you just got to take the work when you can get it, guys. We don't get to choose our hours as much as you think we do.
Yep, exactly.
Do you have an extra special, memorable moment from any particular event that you've hosted?
No.
Can we share that or not? I get it. I know people ask me that. I'm like, I don't think I should tell you.
I know there's definitely lots of crazy things that happen at weddings that I could probably have like a whole segment on, like crazy things that happen. We've had a fire happen inside the building. That was exciting.
From a candle?
Oh
no.
Yeah.
Do you still allow candles?
We do, but we're a bit more strict on the policy
hurricane
now.
Stuff and all.
Yeah, lots more glass involved now. You know, you live and learn.
What kind of hobbies or interests do you have outside of work?
Well, I weirdly really enjoy refinishing furniture.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And I don't know that I'm even that good at it, but I really like it. Like I like working with my hands and like, you know, seeing a beginning to end and finding this horrible piece of furniture. Actually, the wet bar in our wedding suite, I refinished. I bought from
Really?
Facebook Marketplace for like a few $100s. And this piece, I mean, it was terrible. It was stored in someone's garage for gosh knows how long.
Yeah.
And so I completely sanded it all down, refinished it, painted a couple things, cut in a sink space, and now it looks like something totally different.
Gosh,
So,
that's amazing.
I really like it.
That's awesome. That is great. I do a lot of thrift shopping, estate sales and all, and I'm like, gosh, I would love for someone to like repaint that for me. It's not something I want to get into. It gets messy, but yeah,
you buy it, I'll finish it.
Yeah, there we go. I love that. As a professional in your career, what is the best piece of advice that you've received?
To treat people like family. When we were first starting out, I shadowed with an amazing wedding planner, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity that he gave me to work under him. And this is a really goofy story, but it taught me such an important lesson. So this is one of the first times I'm working with this man. His name is Jerome, and he's getting the wedding party lined up to start walking down the aisle for the ceremony. And I'm standing kind of across the way, kind of watching what he does. So everyone's lined up, they're ready to go. He starts dismissing people to walk down the aisle, and I see him have an exchange of some type of like altercation with one of the groomsmen. And I'm watching and I'm wondering what's going on. And I see the groomsman shake his head no. And then I see Jerome shake his head yes. And then they do this back and forth a couple times. And finally he holds his hand out in front of the man's mouth and he spits gum out into his hand. And
my gosh.
And he proceeds the entire ceremony with this strange man's gum in his hand while the rest of the wedding party is walking down the aisle. And
oh my God,
you know, a huge takeaway from that was you got to just do whatever it takes to make it happen and treat them like family, you know? So he talks to all of his clients as though he's known them for years, is that you're not just meeting them for the first time, but that you've known them all your life. And I think that that makes people feel really comfortable with you. And it instills a lot of trust in you that they know that you're going to work the best that you can on their wedding day.
I love that story so much.
I remember that story all the time throughout my career. Yeah.
That is a really good example of what wedding vendors do.
Whatever it takes.
Well, especially, I mean, the good ones. Those are the ones that, you know, hang around in the industry for a long time. So I do work weddings sometimes, but for the most part, I don't. And I have so much respect for people that work on the wedding day.
Yeah.
Normal people do not understand the sacrifices that are made, especially for coordinators, planners, photographers, videographers. I mean, you don't get to sit down. You are lucky if you get to go to the bathroom 3 times. You don't get to drink water. In fact, I have heard people that are working weddings try not to drink any liquids throughout the day so you don't have to go to the bathroom. So you're literally dehydrating yourself. You make split the moment decisions. You have to always be paying attention to what's going on to solve this problem, solve that problem. There is so much that goes into being a day of wedding vendor. And I have so much respect for people like you.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That's pretty much exactly how it goes. Hence the post-wedding hangover because you didn't drink enough water that day and you were on your feet the whole time. But yeah, it's crazier, you know, putting out one fire and then in the meantime, I have my headpiece on and I'm hearing about 4 other fires that are happening throughout the building that I also need to focus on next. So it's a lot and it's definitely not for the weary. And I hear this comment a lot from people that aren't in the industry where they have this expectation that my job is so glamorous and they're like, oh, you get to like wear this fancy dress and eat, you know, wonderful food and have wedding cake and set up flower arrangements. And, you know, some of it is a little bit of that.
Very small.
But the most part, it's putting out fires, dealing with family and couples that are super stressed and big personalities with the wedding party. And putting out fires all over the place and putting aside your own personal needs for the day.
And you're working hours and hours and hours.
It's a 12, 14-hour day.
You don't work an 8-hour shift and you don't get to call in sick either.
No. No.
You don't get to take a mental health day. You don't get to schedule doctor's appointments. Nope. And also, I think another sacrifice that I think most people don't realize, you know, and everyone always says like, oh, why are wedding flowers so expensive? It's like, this is why there's so many sacrifices that are being made. I mean, I always say like, why don't you just go to Kroger and get your own flowers then? You can do that, but you don't want to go do that. You want to have it transported as you should. But another sacrifice that I think about is if you have someone that books a wedding with you in 2026, are you booking some 2026s right now?
Yes, we are.
Yep. and you have a cousin that gets engaged and wants to go to Cancun for a wedding, I mean, you have to say no. Even if it's your best friend, you have to say no if you already have someone booked.
Yeah, and that's the
That's a
challenge.
sacrifice.
That's the challenge of owning and operating a business. And
Mhm.
I mean, that situation's happening right now. We have a family wedding this May, and I'm not going. You know, I made Ken and Kathy go. It's their side of the family. So I insisted that they go, and I'll stay back and hold down the fort. But yeah, that's absolutely a sacrifice. You know, I don't go to my friends' baby showers or bridal showers, or I miss a lot of weddings. I miss a ton of birthday parties. And it's just part of the process,
You're
you
making
know.
me sad.
It's okay. You know, it's part of the industry. But, you know, if you start feeling sad for me, keep in mind that I also work very part-time throughout the winter. So it all
Yeah, I get that too. I'm slow in the winter too. So
Yeah.
we enjoy our winter.
Yes, we do.
You don't get winter blues, do you?
Not if I can go on vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I actually start to feel this little bit of sadness when the weather starts to get nice. Then I'm like, okay, the season's coming. I gotta work a lot.
Yeah, it's
When the
starting.
weather's nice, I work a lot. When it's very yucky out, I don't work a lot. So
Yeah, this time of year when we're starting to see spring like glimpsing through is when I start contacting all of our contractors for, I mean, right now, today, actually, there's a bunch of people at the venue getting all sorts of chores done. And yeah, that's kind of like the calm before the storm where we're starting to get a lot of building maintenance happening. And then from there on out, it's like,
and you have a lot of landscaping to do, I'm sure.
so
too.
much
Oh, yeah.
landscaping. The amount of
Yeah.
mulch that, I mean, it's unbelievable.
bet.
We should be sponsored by a mulch company.
Yes. Give him a shout out.
Yeah.
I love how we're both female entrepreneurs sitting here. I think that's pretty common in the wedding industry.
Yeah.
But do you have any pointers for other female entrepreneurs out there?
Absolutely. It can be tough to be a business owner in general, let alone a female business owner. I think is a little bit different of a ball game. And like you said, I'm really thankful for this industry that it's so female driven. I think that it can be really challenging to deal with imposter syndrome. I don't know if you've ever encountered this in your career.
Absolutely. Yes.
But there's definitely moments where I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. I'm not fit to do this. What am I doing? I need to be doing better. And I think that's something that's sometimes really difficult to overcome. And, you know, sometimes you just have to go for it and dive head first right into the problem, figure it out from there. You know, as you were showing me around this beautiful space, there was a couple things that you mentioned that weren't quite done yet, but you're still operating. You're still having all of your fittings and your designs happen here. So it doesn't have to be perfect. That's another, I think, great lesson is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be okay enough to kind of get you through to the next phase. And you're always going to be making changes and modifications to make your business better. While we were at the Petite Fleur vendor event.
Yep. We saw each other there.
Yeah, super
Shout out
fun.
to Karina.
Yes, Karina.
We love you.
I'm going to quote you, Karina, if you're watching this. So for those that don't know, she hosts this wonderful holiday event for all the vendors to get together. And it's just a great time.
Party.
Oh gosh, it's
the party of the year.
It really is. And she's so generous. We have dinner and drinks, and there's a wreath, you know, event that she does, like a wreath tutorial for us all to make our own wreaths to take home.
I put mine on the studio door.
I did mine at home too.
Yeah. I love that.
But something that she brought up that really stuck with me, and I'm curious to see if it stuck with you too, is she said that there's enough business to go around.
Yes.
We don't have to be in competition with each other. We can see each other as more of a community versus competition. And I think that's really an important lesson to learn as you're diving into really any business, but specifically the wedding industry. It's so close knit. Everyone knows each other. And I don't want to think of any other business as being my competition, but rather someone that I can maybe learn from or share some similar experiences with.
There's room for everybody.
Right.
I don't know how accurate the stat is anymore. I should look it up again, but I heard a couple years ago that there were 50,000 weddings that happened in the state of Michigan every year.
Wow.
And so when I thought about that, I'm like, I can't do all 50,000. So I wholeheartedly believe that there really is enough room for everybody in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Touching on what you said to start there, I really like the quote, done is better than perfect.
Yes.
And I think in the wedding industry, especially, and with female entrepreneurs, it is so easy to be brought down by perfection sometimes.
Yes.
This ideal of perfection. Your brides and grooms want everything to be perfect. We want everything to be perfect. And it's so easy to get sucked into that and never make your way out. So I agree with you that sometimes you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And it goes for everybody.
And you can always make changes. Just because you have something set in stone right now doesn't mean you can't backtrack, erase that, and start something new again. I mean, every year we're making updates to our contract, our processes, and trying to make everything a little bit better than we did last season.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I am so blown away by you, Alicia. This is just so fun. And I know just within my own family, we're working on the third daughter of the family to get married. So we've worked with venues quite a few times,
Yeah.
but it just really sounds like you so truly care about your couples. And that's really a breath of fresh air because I know working with venues sometimes can be very difficult. It's a hard thing for normal people to understand how the whole wedding comes about, how you pay for things, how everything's laid out. So I would think that all of your couples at the Oakley are just super comfortable with you. And I can see that you really put a lot of effort into taking care of them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I certainly feel that way. I love all of my couples. I've worked with so many of them, and all of them I would love to like run into again and get a cup of coffee. And I still like to have that connection with all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing about being in the wedding industry is we send these brides and grooms off and then, in theory, we never hear from them again, but it's like we were a part of such a big moment in their lives. So they're always going to be important to us. So what would be the first steps of inquiring with the Oakley?
Yeah, so the great first step would be to go to our website. There's a contact page right there on the website. It'll send us an email and we will send you back all of the relevant package information that you would need for your big day.
Awesome. And what is the website name?
The website is theoakleyevents.com, TheOakleyEvents.com.
Awesome. And do you have socials for people to follow along?
Oh, yes. We love socials. Yeah. So on Instagram, it's at the Oakley Events. On Facebook, it is at the Oakley Weddings.
Fabulous. After someone initially inquires with you, what is the process like for them to come for a tour, or what are the next steps?
Yeah, so typically I like to have a quick little conversation either via email or on a phone call, whatever the couple prefers. Get some basic information about their wedding day, how many guests they expect to have on the big day, if they have a time of year or a specific date in mind, just to make sure that we can accommodate what they're looking for.
Right, because if you're booked, then no go.
Right, then at that point, I'll probably send them on to another venue that's in our area that might be able to assist them.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love that. That's good.
So from there, I'll send them our package information. They can review everything that we have to offer for them, make sure that the price point works for them. Then from there, we'll move forward to schedule an in-person tour. I will walk through the entire property with them beginning to end, make sure they know exactly how the flow of their event would work, go over some design ideas, talk about some rental options, and make sure that I have all of their questions answered. So I want them to leave their tour feeling like they have all of the information. They'll have a copy of our contract, our full vendor list, any information that they need to make a really great and easy, educated decision for their big day. So I'm going to flip the switch here and ask you a question.
Okay.
You've been asking me a lot of questions, and I want to ask you one.
Okay.
What do you see as far as wedding gown trends? Because I know that I've started to really see a shift in what those dresses are looking like over the last few years. What would you say is a new trend that you're seeing right now?
I would say, I think in these next couple years, we're going to be going from the long cathedral veils back to shorter veils. I'm starting to see that a little bit. And I think there's going to be a heavy emphasis on accessories.
Oh.
Yes. So we've done a lot of the overskirts, detach the overskirt, types of things like that. But I think we're going to get more into, you've been seeing maybe those scarves.
Yes.
Those scarves are going to make their way full swing next season, I think. And jewelry and purses. And then I think just people, as the years go on, just want to be more and more different from each other.
Yes.
So just more styles out there. I think these past couple years, the very in look has been just like very sexy. I think the style, like tight plunging necklines, the under booty curve is all the rage. I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been seeing lately.
Okay.
And that's what I'm kind of seeing for the future. What about you? Have you seen wedding dress trends that you feel strongly about?
I feel like I'm seeing little touches of the 90s coming in.
Ooh, yes. You know what else? Another thing with veils, I think we're going to get voluminous here soon.
Really? Like 80s? Like,
it's possible.
Okay.
Because my theory is with the long cathedral veils, you just can't be poofy. Yeah. So now that we're going to shorter veils a little bit, I think that people are going to jazz it up a little bit with their veil. And it might not be full 80s. I mean, 80s did get a little crazy. No one's ever going to go that wild again.
She was really up there. Yeah.
They were trying to take up as much space as they possibly could. But we're not about that. I mean, I even saw a bride that was in just recently and she had a short veil and she was trying to like poof it up a little bit to get it. And I'm like, ooh, I love that energy. So I think that that's possible. And I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that. I think we've done the narrow column veil for way too long now. That's been in style, I think, since 2015. So I'm ready to move on.
It's always nice to see different trends come and go, especially as, wedding vendors, we see a lot of the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
So when we start to see that shift, I think it's really exciting for us to do something new and fresh.
And actually, for all the brides listening, you probably already bought your dress by the time you found me. But I think a common thing that happens is the bridal industry is very different than most other formal dresses. So I think when you go into a bridal shop, everything feels so fresh and brand new. But in reality, a lot of the dresses are common in the bridal industry. You just don't know that because it's your first time being a bride. So I would say doing your research ahead of time is so important before you go dress shopping, just knowing what's out there and something that you might have seen a lot on Pinterest or Instagram or wherever you're searching, you'll see at the stores and you'll kind of note that. Not that that's a bad thing though either. I mean, it's totally okay to blend in with the crowd. I mean, that's totally fine too. But if you're looking to be a little bit different, then I would say just do your research first. But anyway, thank you so much, Alicia, for being on the podcast. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. I was super nervous, but you made me feel super welcome. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you got to see the studio. And yeah, I'm looking forward to our listeners hearing more about the Oakley.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And if you are looking for dress alterations, Sarah's your girl. The studio behind us is absolutely stunning. So you must come check it out.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode has allowed you to approach the world with greater confidence in your own personal style. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out through email or the inquiry form on the website. I hope you are all ready to go and get dressed up. I look forward to sharing more dressing up tips with you in future episodes. Thanks so much.